Summary of Dead Man's Hand, a novel written by Brad Taylor. Chapter 1. Title: Shadows of Retribution, Purin's Last Stand. The stone hut stood nestled in the dense Ukrainian woods, a refuge from the unforgiving war that had swallowed the nation. Inside, the flickering light of a small fire cast shadows on the faces of resistance fighters who called themselves the Wolves. At the center of the room, Purin, the god of war, looked at his comrades with steely resolve, his tired eyes reflecting the weight of countless battles. How many made it back? Purin's voice cut through the dimness, a question heavy with the expectation of loss. Dishka, his trusted deputy, flashed a quick smile, the lines on his face softening momentarily. All made it back, he replied, using the pseudonym that shielded their true identities from the Russian machine that sought to crush the spirit of Ukrainian resistance. As the conversation unfolded, the narrative wove through Purin's past, from his days as a store clerk in a small town to the invasion that shattered his world. His decision to stay behind enemy lines, feigning allegiance to the Russian occupiers while secretly building a network of resistance, had shaped his transformation into the formidable leader known as Purin. Yet, for all the successful strikes against the Russian forces, Purin was haunted by a growing sense of futility. The sacrifices, the lives lost, and the destruction wreaked upon his homeland seemed to pale against the relentless advance of the Russian war machine. He yearned for a decisive action, a move that would tip the scales and bring about the liberation he fought for. "It's good. I'm just tired of these little strikes," Purin admitted, the weariness in his voice revealing the toll of continual combat. Dishka, ever the pragmatic comrade, offered strategic suggestions, but Purin's mind was elsewhere. He harbored a daring plan, one that defied the norms of guerrilla warfare, the assassination of Russian President Putin. The audacity of the proposal hung in the air, prompting disbelief and uncertainty among the wolves. "You want to go kill Putin or something?" Dishka's incredulous question echoed the skepticism that rippled through the room. Purin's response was unwavering. "Yes. That's exactly what I mean." As the reality of Purin's audacious plan settled in, the wolves found themselves at a crossroads. Fear, doubt, and hope wrestled for dominance in their hearts. The proposition challenged the very essence of their resistance, a movement that had thrived on hit-and-run tactics, striking from the shadows, and slipping away before the enemy could retaliate. In the following days, Purin and the wolves prepared for their daring mission. The air was thick with tension as the group honed their skills, gathered intelligence, and grappled with the moral implications of assassinating a head of state. Each decision became a weight on their shoulders, and as the days passed, the sense of inevitability grew stronger. On the eve of their departure, Purin addressed the assembled wolves. "We may not succeed, but we will not falter. We fight not just for ourselves, but for all those who have suffered at the hands of tyranny. Our actions today will echo through history, a testament to the courage and resilience of the Ukrainian people." The night swallowed them as they moved silently through the woods, shadows among shadows, their breath visible in the chilly air. The wolves, bound by a shared purpose and an unspoken understanding, advanced toward an uncertain fate. Purin led them with the gravity of a man who had stared into the abyss and found a flicker of hope. As they approached the heart of the enemy territory, Purin's mind raced with thoughts of his family, the ones he had lost in the ruthless onslaught. His determination to confront Putin was fueled by a thirst for retribution and a desperate desire to make a difference in a war that seemed relentless and unyielding. The wolves, guided by Purin's vision, infiltrated the tightly guarded perimeter surrounding Putin's residence. The night air hung heavy with anticipation as they moved with the precision of a well-trained unit. Tensions peaked as they reached their target, and Purin's eyes bore into the darkness, searching for the moment that would alter the course of history. However, fate is a capricious companion in times of war. Just as the wolves prepared to strike, an unexpected figure emerged from the shadows, a Russian resistance fighter. His face, etched with weariness and determination, mirrored Purin's own. The realization struck like lightning, connecting the two men across the divide of nationality and allegiances. Dishka, Purin's steadfast deputy, recognized the intruder. "Wait, he's one of ours," he whispered urgently. The Russian resistance fighter, named Yuri, had embarked on a parallel journey of defiance within the very heart of the Russian war machine. He shared Purin's disillusionment and sought a path to change the course of the conflict. Purin, ever pragmatic, saw an opportunity in Yuri's unexpected appearance. As the two leaders of opposing forces stood face to face, a fragile alliance was forged, a collaboration that transcended national boundaries in pursuit of a common goal. In the secluded stone hut, Purin gathered the wolves once again. The candles flickered, casting a macabre glow on their faces as they listened to their leader's plan. The alliance with Yuri offered a chance to coordinate efforts, to strike at the heart of both Russian and Ukrainian military infrastructure simultaneously. Purin's proposition hung in the air, a daring alliance that defied the rigid lines of war. Dishka, initially skeptical, now found himself contemplating the possibilities. The wolves, though bound by their loyalty to Purin, grappled with the complexity of collaborating with a former adversary. In the end, the decision was unanimous. The wolves, alongside Yuri and his Russian resistance fighters, embarked on a mission that blurred the lines between friend and foe. The darkened windows of the stone hut bore witness to a shared commitment to a cause greater than themselves, the liberation of Ukraine from the clutches of oppression. The days that followed saw a synchronized effort, with the wolves and their newfound allies orchestrating strikes on key military installations, disrupting supply lines, and sowing confusion among the Russian forces. The collaboration between Ukrainians and Russians, former enemies turned comrades, unfolded as an unexpected beacon of hope in a war-torn land. Purin, once wearied by the seeming futility of his efforts, found renewed purpose in the unity forged between former adversaries. The alliance not only disrupted the Russian war machine but also sparked a ripple of inspiration among the citizens of Ukraine. The collaborative resistance became a symbol of defiance, challenging the narrative of division perpetuated by the occupiers. As the wolves and their newfound allies continued their coordinated strikes, whispers of their exploits spread like wildfire. The once doubtful citizens of Ukraine found solace in the knowledge that a united front, born from the ashes of distress, was challenging the oppressors. The war, which had cast a long shadow over the nation, now bore witness to a glimmer of collective resilience. Purin's journey, from a humble store clerk to the god of war leading a resistance, took an unexpected turn. His audacious plan to assassinate Putin evolved into a narrative of collaboration and shared purpose, transcending the boundaries of nationality and allegiance. The stone hut, once a refuge for weary fighters, became a testament to Chapter 2. Amidst the tranquil solitude of his lakeside mansion, nestled deep within the Russian wilderness, the President of Russia gazed out the window, his gaze fixed upon the falling snowflakes dancing in the glow of the outside lights. To him, the onset of winter brought a sense of solace, a temporary reprieve from the turbulent currents of politics and power that engulfed him. Yet, even as he sought refuge in the quiet expanse of his estate, the specter of conflict loomed large, threatening to shatter the fragile peace he had cultivated. The mansion, a sprawling complex that had once been the private retreat of Joseph Stalin, now stood as a symbol of opulence and influence, a testament to the president's authority. Expanded and renovated over the years, it boasted an array of amenities befitting a man of his stature, a private spa, a helicopter pad, even a separate building housing a bowling alley and cinema. Yet, despite the lavish surroundings, the president found himself besieged by uncertainty and doubt. The recent missile strike in Poland, an event he vehemently denied orchestrating, had plunged him into a maelstrom of controversy and suspicion. Accusations flew from all sides, with fingers pointed squarely at him as the instigator of the attack. Yet, he knew the truth: the missile had not been launched by his forces, but had instead strayed from Ukrainian territory. Still, the damage had been done, and the repercussions threatened to undermine his authority, both at home and abroad. As the president contemplated his next move, a sense of unease gnawed at the edges of his consciousness. The chattering classes of the Kremlin whispered of betrayal and conspiracy, their murmurs growing louder with each passing day. Even within his own inner circle, dissent simmered, as ambitious rivals vied for power and influence. It was in this atmosphere of uncertainty and paranoia that the president devised a plan born of desperation and fueled by the desire to cling to power at any cost. He called it the dead man's hand, a doomsday mechanism designed to ensure his survival in the face of threats, both real and imagined. To execute his plan, the president turned to Viktor Petrov, commander of the Russian National Guard and a trusted confidant. Viktor, a man hardened by years of service to the state, had earned the president's trust through his unwavering loyalty and ruthlessness. As one of the president's most trusted advisors, he was tasked with overseeing the implementation of the dead man's hand, a responsibility that weighed heavily upon his shoulders. As Viktor entered the president's study, he was greeted by the sight of his leader, his gaze fixed upon the swirling snow outside. Sensing the gravity of the moment, he approached with caution, unsure of what awaited him. "Sir? You wanted to see me?" Viktor inquired, his voice tinged with apprehension. The president turned from the window, his expression inscrutable. "Indeed, Viktor. Please, have a seat." Taking a chair opposite the president's desk, Viktor awaited his instructions, his mind racing with possibilities. What could the president want from him now, in the midst of this turmoil? "Viktor, you are aware of the recent developments regarding the missile strike in Poland," the president began, his voice measured. "Yes, sir. It has caused quite a stir, both domestically and internationally," Viktor replied, choosing his words carefully. The president nodded, his gaze penetrating. "Indeed. And while we both know that we were not responsible for the attack, the implications are troubling. The West sees it as an act of aggression, an attempt to sow chaos and instability." Viktor nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Yes, sir. It has certainly raised tensions in the region." The president leaned forward, his eyes burning with intensity. "Which is why we must take decisive action to protect our interests and ensure our survival." Viktor listened intently, his curiosity piqued. What could the president have in mind? "I have devised a plan, a contingency, if you will," the president continued, his voice low and urgent. "It is called the dead man's hand." Viktor's eyes widened in surprise, his mind racing to comprehend the implications of the president's words. The dead man's hand, a chilling concept, reminiscent of Cold War paranoia and nuclear brinkmanship. "The dead man's hand?" Viktor echoed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, Viktor. It is a fail-safe, a last resort to ensure our survival in the face of threats," the president explained, his tone grave. "If I am removed from power, whether through assassination, coup, or other means, the dead man's hand will be activated. It will unleash a devastating response upon our enemies, both foreign and domestic." Viktor's mind reeled at the enormity of the president's plan. To unleash nuclear devastation in the event of his removal from power, it was a strategy born of desperation, a final gambit to cling to power at any cost. "I understand, sir," Viktor replied, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "But is such a drastic measure truly necessary?" The president fixed Viktor with a steely gaze, his expression unyielding. "In times of crisis, Viktor, we must be prepared to take decisive action to protect our interests. The dead man's hand is our insurance policy, a deterrent against those who would seek to undermine us." Viktor nodded, his resolve hardening. In the murky world of politics and power, there were no easy choices, only the cold calculus of survival. "As you wish, sir. I will see to it that the dead man's hand is implemented without delay," Viktor replied, his voice firm. The president inclined his head in acknowledgement, a flicker of satisfaction crossing his features. "Good. You have served me well, Viktor. I trust that you will not fail me now." With a sense of purpose burning within him, Viktor rose from his seat, his mind already turning to the task ahead. In the shadowy corridors of power, where loyalty was currency and betrayal was met with swift reprisal, he knew that he had no choice but to carry out the president's orders, no matter the cost. As he left the president's study, Viktor felt a sense of unease settling over him, a nagging doubt that whispered of the darkness that lurked within the heart of power. Yet, for better or for worse, he knew that he was bound by duty and loyalty to see the president's plan through to its grim conclusion. In the halls of power, where the fate of nations hung in the balance, Viktor Petrov stood as a sentinel of the dead man's hand, a harbinger of destruction in a world consumed by power, paranoia, and the relentless pursuit of survival.